That's good. That's good. When creating a game, you can pull from an infinite amount of genres that already exist. These genres give you a better sense of what the story could entail, as well as setting up the theme or tone. And in a world where there are a billion open-world anime JRPG space farming simulators with turn-based combat and first-person shooting featuring Knuckles and Dante from Devil May Cry 2, it's cool to see these genres taken in a new direction. I swear to God, between Jeff Keighley's Clubhouse and the Nintendo Direct to DVD, I question my fucking sanity every time I see a new cozy indie farming simulator from the creators of Genshin Impact and the Hydrogen Bomb. Now, I'm not saying that every game has to reinvent the wheel with every new entry. Not every game needs to be a Mario 64 or an Ocarina of Time and completely invent some new Z-targeting to show the enemy's balls.
Show me this guy's balls, please.
But when a studio decides to take a pre-established genre and apply it to their new game, there's a lot that can go wrong. Let's look at a horror game, for example. If you and your buddies decide you have a cool new idea for a horror game and it's got all the new graphics and all the new scaries and Dante from Devil May Cry 2, you have to realize you're going against this. Okay, how about mystery game? Puzzle game. Yeah. JRPG. Okay, the fact that any video game exists is fucking insane. And the worst part is, it doesn't just stop at video games. If you create something in the horror genre, you're not only going against a long line of video games, but every other medium as well. But the most insane part is that even with this towering history of industry giants in video games and movies and TV shows and books and podcasts and VR porn, there are still games that break the mold of their genre and create something completely new. And the two games that come to mind are The Last of Us and Red Dead 2. So, video. I do want to preface this with the fact that I'm focusing on the stories of these games. I would love to say that Naughty Dog and Rockstar reinvented the but Baby Jakey has 2 videos on why that's fucking stupid. I wanted to start with The Last of Us because it's one that I still think about pretty frequently. See, I don't know if you guys remember this, but the early 2010s gave way to the weirdest craze of zombies. Every popular TV show, video game, or movie was zombie. And even if that piece of media wasn't explicitly zombie related or had anything to do with it, they would just add something later to make it zombies. This obviously started with shows like The Walking Dead rising in popularity after its start in 2010. The show continued throughout the era and spearheaded the genre as the first 2 seasons were seen as like the golden age of zombie content. And honestly, I don't even know where to start with movies. 28 Days Later, Paranormal, Zombieland, Scooby-Doo Zombie Island, Dawn of the Dead, Shaun of the Dead, she giving me sloppy that bark in me head. In games, dude? Ever heard of Plants vs. Zombies? Ever heard of Left 4 Dead 2? Ever heard of a motherfucking Zombie U? Now imagine it's 2013. It's the absolute peak of the zombie craze with movies like World War Z starring Brad Pitt and This Is the End starring almost Brad Pitt? It's 2013, and Naughty Dog, an already well-established game studio that brought some of PlayStation's biggest hits, says that they're joining in on the fun too. And with that, one of the most notorious game stories is created. And also one of the most notorious game sequels that my ass is not talking about.
We are surviving. This is our chance. It is over.
Even when I had my very first playthrough of the game, one of the biggest creative choices that instantly stuck out to me is the fact that they don't show you life immediately after the outbreak. Which, if you watch any of these other movies or TV shows, that's like their favorite thing to do. 28 Days Later is literally about the zombie apocalypse starting and everyone going, yeah, I'll wait this one out. And you guessed it, 28 Days Later, that shit is over, man. That shit is done big. Oh, the zombie apocalypse? Yeah, you missed it, man. That shit was on Tuesday. It's Thursday. The intro to the game shows you the outbreak itself, with Joel, his brother Tommy, and his daughter Sarah fleeing from this unknown apocalypse. You see the outbreak, the chaos, the violence, the event that makes Joel the character he is. I don't know. No spoilers, I guess. Which, you know, Little outbreak, that's cool. People dying, that's alright, but oh boy, I sure do wonder what happens next. Bam! 20 years later. The Last of Us does not revel in the height of the zombie apocalypse like these other stories because that's not what the game is about. It doesn't focus on life after the outbreak or the immediate outcome of a zombie apocalypse because in the story of the game, that doesn't matter. It focuses on what life looks like long after any hope is gone and when any sense of civilization is just a misunderstood power dynamic. Even as a game that takes place in a zombie world, the world only acts as a backdrop for what's more important. Joel and Ellie. By setting up the world to be a much more destitute representation of life after an outbreak, it highlights just how important Ellie's mission to create a cure for the virus really is.
Do you even realize what your life means?
This is a world devoid of hope, seen through the eyes of a man devoid of everything. So when something really does start to change in the world, so too does it start to change our characters. It's this developing father-daughter relationship that becomes a focal point of the story. Unlike all these other zombie stories where it's, oh, we gotta kill the zombies because they're really fast, or, oh, we gotta kill the zombies because they're really slow. In Naughty Dog's naturalistic style of dialogue that everyone talks about fits perfectly in a game that revolves around a developing relationship between two people. The relationship between Joel and Ellie works so well that you could almost remove the zombie parts and you probably still have a pretty solid narrative. Don't get me wrong, the zombies still play a big part in the story, especially with their unique take on it with the cordyceps and the clickers and the crawlers and Dante from Devil May Cry 2. A lot of time and effort went into creating the world of The Last of Us, and I would highly recommend the Grounded documentary on the making of the game, and also, fuck it, the Raising Kratos documentary that I put on every time I need to bust one. The Last of Us didn't attempt to capitalize on a popular craze at the time and make a game that's just it cool because it's zombie, but instead it cool because I'm fucking sobbing. They went with what was good and ultimately created a genuinely timeless story. So timeless that they can revive it 10 years later into a TV show and still shock and enthrall everyone watching, launching it to be one of the most successful HBO shows since fucking Game of Thrones. This is the reason that The Last of Us stuck out among the crowd of zombie content coming out at the time, and this is the reason that The Last of Us still sits heavily on our minds.
Okay.
Among other reasons. With The Last of Us, there was a significant era of time that the game had to battle against to hold its own. There was so much content releasing at that time that in order to make your game stick out, it had to fucking stick out. But with Red Dead 2, it's less about an era and more about a legacy. A legacy that you may not think about every time you go to see the movies, but one that has influenced our culture of cinema and film. Fuck it, movies. It's movies, guys. It's one that has influenced our culture of entertainment to a massive degree. That legacy being spaghetti westerns and cowboy movies. Maybe you've heard the term spaghetti western before. I had before this video, but I thought it was goofy and silly. But I researched it, and this is what it is. It is basically, before the 1960s, there were a bunch of American-made Western films. These were your typical frontier fun love stories your grandma would have on the TV about the hottest man in the 1950s killing 1 billion Native Americans. But throughout the 60s, filmmakers realized it was way cheaper to film overseas in places like Italy as opposed to filming in the United States. This led to a rise in Italian filmmakers taking American stars and adapting the Western genre into something completely new. Spaghetti! These films were typically shot in desert locales and featured violent anti-heroes, sweeping soundtracks, and a lot of white people playing characters who were not. The genre was spearheaded by directors like Sergio Leone, who made the Dollars trilogy, which showed everyone the magic that was not syncing audio to people's mouths. Ouch. And although the genre took a dip in the 70s as it became less popular, there's still a heavy representation of its influences within many movies that have come out in the past decade or so. There's Django Unchained, Rango Unchained, there's Brokeback Mountain, which, you know, thought it was a Western. And as far as video games go, I don't think Rockstar had to worry too much. I'm pretty sure the most popular cowboy game before Red Dead 2 was Red Dead 1, which, speaking of Red Dead 1, that had a much more direct inspiration from these older movies. Many of the windows, vistas, locations, and characters could be taken straight out of a Clint Eastwood film. I mean, if you want to talk about inspiration, dude, just look at the cover of Red Dead Revolver versus The Outlaw. Like, what? Bro, although spaghetti westerns started due to the ease and inexpensiveness of filming somewhere else, it sparked a genre that created the defining qualities of a cowboy story. This is what people think of when they see a cowboy. Red Dead 2 is not this. Red Dead 2 creates a narrative that looks at all of these tropes and pivots the other direction. Red Dead 1 gave that fantasy of outlaws and gunslingers in the Wild West at a time where brooding big guy fighting for his family and killing a gazillion guys in the process was at an all-time high. They gave you that period in its prime, the absolute golden age when cowboys roamed the Wild West and were bad boys, and honestly, what are you gonna do when they come for you? But in Red Dead 2, they show you the downfall of that era, at a time when outlaws and gunslingers are past their prime and civilization begins to take over. Okay, so the first game shows it in its prime and the second shows the downfall, but the second takes place before the first, so how can it be the downfall if it's before the prime?
That don't matter. That don't matter. Come sign this, baby girl.
And this is exactly what I find most fascinating about Red Dead 2's story. They choose not to show you this golden age of cowboys and gunslingers and instead show you this idea of the Wild West in its very last years. And the best possible description of this comes from the very opening line to the game. The year's 1899. Time for outlaws and gunslingers that's at its end. America was becoming a land of laws, and even the West was mostly tamed. I have been playing way too much fucking Red Dead. Before Red Dead Redemption 2 even begins, the characters you follow are already on a descent. The inciting incident of this whole story is the job in Blackwater going wrong. This event single-handedly places our characters on a journey to death, madness, and absolution, and you don't even fucking see it happen. You are only fed small bits and pieces of this in dialogue, but never getting a straight answer.
What really went down back there on that boat? We missed you. That's what happened.
And a job going south isn't the first for the gang by any means. No, that's like the plot to every fucking mission in this game. But this time it's different. This time they can't just flee westwards after a job goes wrong. This time, something else catches up to them. This game takes place at the very turn of the century, when civilization and government begin to actually be a thing. Civilization and government begin to rear its head into the new age, and for the first time in their lives, the gang is going against something that they can't run from. After this job goes wrong, they are forced to flee eastward. The more they move, the closer they get to a developing nation. With every intention of making it back to the west, they instead travel further and further east as civilization grows and their power over the world withers. And the gang you follow is not shown in their prime, robbing banks and taking names in a world that is their own. No. You only hear stories of that as fleeting remnants of what once was. What you see is the gang's downfall in a world that no longer accepts their kind. And they realize that the only higher power watching over them is the government agencies trying to track them down. They are constantly reminded of just how outdated their lifestyle is becoming, with a competent detective agency at their heels and real genuine cities beginning to develop. The more they continue, the deeper they dig their hole as they realize that the new world is developing, and they're in the way. Red Dead 2 does not tell your typical cowboy story. I'm not like other cowboys. I'm not your average cowboy. This is not a Western adventure about searching for stolen gold or the Battle of Spaghettisburg. This tells quite possibly the last cowboy story. The game encapsulates that era of time, the turn of the century, when America was changing and no longer had room for the likes of the Vanderlyn gang. Tales of outlaws and gunslingers were fading into myths, and even the Wild West we're all accustomed to was mostly tamed. It's somehow a prequel that came out 8 years after the original, encapsulated the very ideas that Dutch Vanderlyn shared in his final moments at the end of Red Dead. You fucking get it.
You see?
It's fading out.
Then I have to shoot you.
When I'm gone, they'll just find another monster. They have to. because they have to justify their wages.
That's their business.
Our time has passed, John.
With that being said, you should absolutely play these games, or at least watch them, whether that be by grace of Let's Player or neighbor through window. And whether it's zombies, cowboys, or zombie cowboys, it's cool as hell to see a game look at its source material and completely divert itself and make something new. Alright, now that the video's done, if you want to subscribe or watch an old video, that would be cool. I'm gonna keep making these, so like it's not for nothing. I have a funny time loop video. Should be cool. Should be like a month or two until that. Thank you. Thank you for watching this. That's awesome. I've been doing this for editing for a month, so that's fucking cool. I appreciate that. Thank you. I give kisses on the forehead for everyone who watched this. Anyways, I appreciate you very much. To the fucking 4 of you who made it here. Bye. Bye now. Go fucking do anything. It's Valentine's Day. Go, you kiss someone on the forelips or jack off.